Thank everybody for coming. And sorry about the wait. And give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get back to where I was.
Councilman Jones.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Yara Sheikh. I'm a board of trustee for the library, and I'm just sitting in with to support Sonia, but I'm listed under her name, so I just wanted to bring that to Chris's attention.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
I recognized you. And I knew who you were, or who you are, and who you are not. Let me see. But that's okay. Let me see if I can. What's going on? Oh. Hey. All right, we'll get started. And I guess, Lauren, we'll start with Zach Ahmed. All right, apologize, everybody. Zach, you're muted. Take it away.
Good afternoon. As you can see on page 1 of the analysis, the proposed FY 2023 budget for Department of Libraries totals $45.1 million, an increase of $1.5 million or 3.4% over the FY 2022 budget, due primarily to increase in personnel expense, including a 3.83 salary scale adjustment, OPEB and other insurance costs, COLAs and increments, offset by reductions in security guard services and publications. 2023 budget also includes a net decrease in personnel expense to fund a proposed reorganization, which adds 15 new positions and deletes 21.7 full-time equivalents. The general fund portion of the budget totals $38 million and increases by $1.3 million or 3.6%. The special fund portion of the budget totals $7 million and increases by $153,000 or 2.2%. On page 2, the pie charts show how the proposed funding will be allocated across areas of spending. Circulation and information services represent the largest program allocation, while personnel costs represent the largest type of expenditure. On page 3, the exhibit identifies significant increase and decreases from FY 2022 to FY 2023. Beginning at the bottom of page 3, the analysis also notes areas within the budget that support new initiatives or flexibility in terms of the hiring process, where potential reductions could be identified if the council wanted to explore such options. Other topics of discussion was also being at the bottom of page 3 include personnel, including the proposed reorganization, unionization, expanded services, and continuing FY 2022 initiatives, impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on operations, and capital-related equipment and equipment financing projects. At this time, I'd like to turn over for discussion.
Thank you very much, Jack. And now we'll hand it over to Director Sonia Alcanfora Antone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the members of the council for allowing us to present to you today, and overall just for the support that the council has shown to the Baltimore County Public Library System. I am joined today by Helen Rao, who is our Fiscal Services Manager, as well as Yara Sheikh, who introduced herself earlier. She is the incoming Vice President of the Board of Library Trustees. Libraries impact the health and wealth of your constituents, our community, and all the residents of Baltimore County. Every great community has a great library system. You cannot have a thriving community with a strong quality of life without a well-resourced public library system. And so I feel really proud to be an employee of the Baltimore County Public Library System, to be a part of this community where people really do value and revere their public library system. The focus for us this year is very much about implementing the classification and compensation study that we recently underwent to make sure that we are recruiting and retaining the most qualified candidates to work for the public library system and to serve the community. Another big part of our focus is adapting to being in a collective bargaining environment. This is very new for us, and a union was just elected. And as I was sharing earlier with Mr. Chair, we are in the process of getting through the final stages of the contract approval and do hope to have a contract in place by July 1. We have shifted and aligned resources so that we can be fully ready to go come July 1 in this new collective bargaining environment. Another area of focus of us, a primary area of focus for us, is making sure that we have 21st century library facilities. Library service has changed significantly over the past few decades. It's changed a lot, even just in the past 2 years since the pandemic. And our challenge is to make sure that our libraries continue to stay relevant to our community and continue to meet their needs and their expectations. The average age of our library buildings here in Baltimore County is 50 years old. So if you can imagine how much the world has changed in 50 years, how much has changed in terms of how people access information, how they consume information, how they work, how they learn, how they interact with each other, how they communicate. Libraries have to change with the times to reflect all of those changes. So we've made significant strides in the past few years, modernizing and refreshing a number of our facilities, most recently the Reisterstown branch. We have ongoing and upcoming capital projects that we are really excited about. Next up will be a full renovation at our Catonsville branch. And then we're really looking forward to doing something really amazing and transformational at the Woodlawn Library. We have a unique opportunity with some vacant space below the library system that was previously occupied by the health department. And every day after school, because the library is located next to the high school, we easily have 150 to 200 teenagers at the library. And so we have a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something amazing and transformational for the teens in that community. And that, and combined with the Storyville that's already at Woodlawn, we can do something amazing for all youth in the Woodlawn area. And so we're really excited that the county executive is willing to support this project and has committed $13 million in the capital budget to be able to do something amazing for that community. And just a final note, we've been busy traveling around the state and the region to look at the latest and greatest and the best libraries that are out there. And it's exciting because we're seeing that not only do we have a little catching up to do here in Baltimore County, but we can really achieve some really great things with some of what we've seen. And so we're really excited to bring some of those best practices to Baltimore County so that all residents can enjoy a 21st century public library system. So those are my highlights, and I'm here to answer any questions that any of you might have.
All right. Well, while we start with any questions or comments from the members, and I thank you so much for your presentation, and certainly very supportive of everything you're doing at the library. And you're absolutely right. The libraries have to change, and they certainly have been doing that. Any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your leadership and, of course, everybody who works with the library system. I guess for just Southwest Baltimore County District 1, I wouldn't mind later, and I'm sure probably each council member could benefit from a brief synopsis of our respective libraries in each of our districts and kind of what's going on, up to date. Like you mentioned Catonsville earlier, and just understanding the timelines more. And yeah, so that could be helpful. Maybe like an email update on, our specific libraries instead of taking time at this meeting, because it's kind of district specific questions, but just basically an update on what's happening in each of our districts for each of the libraries and ETAs on the various projects that are going on. I mean, I see a lot of stuff, of course, the Woodlawn Library, saw that under capital related, and Julie and I mean, Julian and I, Chairman Jones and I, we share a lot of the Woodlawn related type of stuff because we border Woodlawn, basically, we both work together for all things good in Woodlawn. And, but yeah, that would be helpful for me and for my staff, just to have an understanding of, you know, what's going on in each of our libraries, in each of our districts. So that would be helpful, maybe an email synopsis. So that way when people ask us, or we can also give information out to the community on, especially timelines and details. That would be always helpful. So that's all. But no, I appreciate your work. I appreciate the board. I appreciate the friends of the libraries too, all the people doing the volunteer work as well, which is great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that that input and that insight. Yeah, it would be my pleasure to be able to do so. I think when I stop and think about it, I think we've got some sort of activity or improvement project at most of our library locations. Speaking specifically about District 1, the only one that we didn't mention is Lansdowne. After Woodlawn, Lansdowne is next on the list. Lansdowne is too small for the community that it serves. Minimum state guidelines is that we should have 1 square foot per capita of public library space. And nowhere is that discrepancy more glaring than at Lansdowne. We've got a 5,000 square foot building to serve a community, a service area that's at least 20,000 square feet. So we're really hoping to expand that facility significantly and capitalize on proximity to the senior center, some of the schools that are in that area, and really create a cultural asset that really benefits the people in that community, which is underserved. And so we're really looking forward to engaging in that project once we wrap up with Woodlawn. So that's next on the list. But to speak to your point, yes, I'm happy to provide all members of the council with updates on exactly everything that's going on library-wise in their respective districts.
Yeah, no, that'd be helpful. Things that we can share publicly as well, and you know, especially estimate times. Like for example, even in Lansdowne, the county's investing heavily in the southern part of District 1, including a new high school and several new schools recently down there as well. So as far as capital investment, it's been pretty significant. But even like mentioned in the library, no doubt about it, it's been a long time coming, but even hearing that to me, my first question would be like, well, are we talking in the next 3 years or the next 15 years? You know, when I hear things like that, it's always good to also understand, like realistically, so the community doesn't feel like it's right around the corner. But if it's like 3 years ETA or 5 years ETA or some type of visioning, so we can share with the community what we're thinking about, maybe get some community input. It can never hurt, so people know exactly, you know, what's going on. And with capital, it's really hard. I know timelines are changing, especially with some of these supply chain problems we're all dealing with. But it's good to just get a broader understanding of, well, what's that really mean? And like if a constituent asks me, you know, update on Catonsville Library, for example, I can only talk in generalities. So the more specifics that we have to share with the community, the more we can definitely share as well with the public. And it's helpful to our staff too, to know exactly what's going on and what especially what the timelines are. So no, I appreciate that, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Quirk, and excellent idea on the update from the library. Next, we'll go on to Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much. Really always happy to hear what's going on in our libraries. I was on the BCPL Foundation for, I think, about a decade, and they do terrific work supplementing the public investment we make in our libraries. And one of the things I've been proudest of doing over my years as a community activist was getting the Perry Hall Library built. And that took 10 years. So I know these projects really take a long time to get finally finished. So my only question is, can you just provide us a status on the future of the Towson Library and also what we're looking at doing at Essex?
So very good questions, Councilman. So Towson Library, we would just like a newly renovated building. It's been suggested that perhaps we relocate the library to another spot in Towson. And we're working with the county executive's office. We're working with property management to explore that possibility. Nothing's been decided, nothing's been determined. We're just open to seeing how and where we could rebuild a new Towson library. So either we stay on site or we move to another spot in Towson. I think all options are on the table. We have this fiscal year, we've set aside some monies for a future feasibility study for Towson Library, and we do expect to be able to engage the community at large, to be able to engage this body to find out exactly where Towson Library should be or what it should look like. My concerns is that with the current building, there are significant accessibility issues. For one, it is the only public library in Baltimore County where you have to pay to park. And while the Revenue Authority does give library users 2 free hours, what we find is that the majority of people stay for longer than 2 hours, especially if they're engaged in looking for jobs, or they're attending a library program, or they're here meeting with a group, or they're studying. So it's just not very equitable. And then the other thing is that you have to go up this long spiral to get into the library. So if you are a mom pushing a stroller, if you are in a wheelchair or some sort of mobility device, it's very challenging to get into the library. And so we're really looking forward to having ability that rectifies those issues and allows all people to use the library equitably and with dignity. As for Essex Library, we are very open to the idea of having a new Essex Library, one that is not off of a major highway. The current location of the Essex Library means that children can't walk there after school. And because of its location at the end of a shopping center, we find that there's a lot of there's loitering, and so it's just really not it's not neighborhood friendly, and it's not family friendly. And we would love to have it be embedded in a neighborhood that is accessible to pedestrians, accessible to children and families, particularly after school. And so again, we're working with property management to eventually identify sites where that could be. At this point, we're knee deep in trying to figure out Woodlawn and all of that, so we haven't even engaged in those discussions fully yet, or those explorations yet. But we hope to be able to do so in the future. And we do have some money set aside this year in this year's budget to fund a future feasibility study for Essex Library. So that's also on the docket.
Thank you very much.
Sure, my pleasure.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Zapoka.
Thank you, Ms. Alcantara Antoine. I just want to acknowledge the great work of your library directors. I've worked for other jurisdictions and I've worked with other jurisdictions, and I don't recall any other jurisdiction where library directors are always, almost without exception, active participants, not passive observers in their communities, in the community meetings in the neighborhoods in which their libraries are located. The Owings Mills Library, the Reisterstown Library, the Randallstown Library, the Pikesville Library, all of the directors are almost always at the community meetings, sharing the activities of the community, ensuring that the library is a community center. And I want to applaud you and your directors for that, because I don't think that that's commonplace. I think that's unique to Baltimore County. And they also seem to be really excited to be there, because it's usually at night. And I know that they've been at the library all day. And so I think, as myself and my colleagues can attest to, that it's hard to keep up excitement when you've been at work all day and then have evening meetings. And so I just want to acknowledge the great work of your library directors, their staff, and as they have been an integral part of each of our communities here in Baltimore County.
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Councilman. I am so fortunate because we have just wonderful staff who work for BCPL, and our branch managers in particular. They're really passionate about their role and the role of the library in the community, and they are just the most wonderful ambassadors for BCPL. And they are, to me, the true epitome of what public service should look like. They really do. They really do care about the community, and they really do strive to provide excellent service to everybody in the community. Thank you for that compliment. I will pass that praise along.
It was an easy compliment. Thank you for what you do and for what they do.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, just real quick, can I ask the director clarify your response on Essex again? Is the plan for a complete renovation and new building? I mean, I'm sorry, a completely new facility, or a rehab of the current facility?
I would like us to have a new facility in a different location. That is my vision. That is what I'm striving for. But nothing's been established yet. We have to, if we can find another location, we have to identify where that would be, and we have to work with property management to make that happen. And then also, as with all of our projects, we're really interested in having community engagement to talk with the community about where they'd like the library to be, what they would like it to be, what features they want and need in their local branch library. So that's the vision, that's the plan, but nothing's been established, and really looking forward to working with this body right here to move the needle on that project in particular, and all of our capital projects.
Okay, and so what is budgeted this year is, you called it, is it a feasibility study?
Yes, that's correct. I think it's a
To answer
million.
these questions and to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, I will, first of all, Director, I thank you for taking the time to meet with us, and I certainly am very, very supportive. I do have a few questions. Number one, let me start with, I think it's an excellent opportunity to do something at Woodlawn. Moving the health department out of there is a great opportunity, because I do know that customers of the Woodlawn Library know when the kids are getting out of school next door. They make arrangements not to be there when that happens. In some cases, they go to Randallstown or Owings Mills, because they know that you throw 150 kids into the library, which I'm happy for them to be there, but sometimes it can be a little disruptive to the peace and harmony of the place for others. So I'm happy, and I look forward to doing something with that space at the bottom that can be used for the children getting out of school and giving them a safe place to go. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to talk about is I'm happy to, it's like a mixed bag. On one hand, I'm happy because I support collective bargaining for anybody who wants it. But on the other hand, when somebody has to unionize, that tells me that they feel like they could be treated better and they're not getting their fair share. And that's one of the driving forces behind people unionizing. Now, that's not what I believe. My second part to that is I'm looking in the budget, and there's $75,000 for a labor, let me see if I get it right, a employee and labor relations officer. So what I see there, and you can explain it to me, I see a layer of bureaucracy between the employees union, their president, and you. And I've always thought, at least in all my experiences with unions, that unions work better when they're able to communicate with the boss, with regular meetings and open lines of communications. So when I see the $75,000 for an employee labor relations officer, I think, if you have an issue with parking at the Towson, $75,000 pays for an awful lot of discounted parking. So would you please explain to me what's the rationale with the employee labor relations officer, and how would that help facilitate an environment of cooperation between you and the union?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really good questions. So let me first respond to the first part of your question. So the effort to unionize here at Baltimore County Public Library has actually been in the works for the past 3 to 4 years. So it only just kind of came to a head, so to speak, shortly after I got here. Some of you guys might recall that I started here at BCPL on February 1st of 2021. And 2 weeks before I started, the union was successful at having legislation introduced into the General Assembly that would allow the employees of BCPL to collectively bargain. And so this landed on my lap literally from day one, or actually before day one. And so my job as the new director of this library system is to respect the will of the employees of BCPL, and to lead this organization forward, whether there is a union or not. In the past year, since I have been the director of this wonderful library system, we've implemented a lot of forward-thinking initiatives to be as transparent as possible, to have participative decision-making, to bring people to the table to help make decisions. And having a union is really just one element of that in terms of how staff are participating in this organization and having a voice, right? So as for the Employee and Labor Relations Officer, this is a position that we had to fill, and we had to create, and we had to fill really right away, because we knew that a union had been elected, and that we anticipated having a contract in place by July 1. All of our peers in the library world who have unions have shared that once you have a union in place, typically the amount of workload increases exponentially. I do not have a very deep bench in my human resources department. We anticipate that there might be some grievances, that there's going to be an opportunity for training to help us navigate being in this new collective bargaining environment, which the majority of my staff and managers really don't have any experience in at all. So having this person is really not about adding another layer. It's really more about making it so that we can successfully navigate this new collective bargaining environment. We have never, library administration, the board of library trustees has never opposed a union. We want to work with a union, but frankly, the majority of us don't know how, because we've never done that. We've never been in that type of position. So this position, the Employee Labor Relations Officer, allows us to do that most effectively, so that staff can have a collective bargaining representative, but so that we can all work together collaboratively going forward in this new normal.
Okay, I'll let Ms. Rogers go in, and then I'll respond. Go ahead, Ms. Rogers.
Sure. Well, two things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to interject. The position, the labor relations position, also holds a technical duty as well. When a employee presents a grievance or has, issues that have to procedurally go through the process, it does come in, and it has to be reviewed before it could come, technically before it could come to the director, because those are the procedural steps in a grievance process. Here in general government, within HR, we have a employer relations officer as well, where grievances come in that the employee and the union representative submits their materials, the submission of the grievance comes to, and having a person who has background in employee-employee relationships is really important to help guide the employee and the union representative through the process. Because Austin, like my experience as a director of an agency, before it can come to me to hear at the final steps, then the employees have a right to seek resolution even before we get to the director. A director of an agency or a department in the procedural steps of grievances is like the last round of where they go. And I'm sure you are quite familiar with the grievance steps having come out of a fire department that has, takes the steps through the process.
And I'll add that our employee and labor relations officer will have a big role in making sure that we are enacting the contract as it's written. And then when it comes time for us to renegotiate a contract after a year, this person will be at the table helping us renegotiate the contract. So it's a crucial skill set that we did not currently have in our organization because we didn't have a union before, but now we do, and we want to be as prepared as we can come July 1 to be able to successfully navigate being in a collective bargaining environment.
Well, let me just say this, and I'm gonna say this with love. Having been a union president, having been involved in the union and union leadership for many years, the position that you guys are taking is one that the union is going to come in being an adversarial person, and you somehow going to have all these issues and problems. And what I'm here to tell you, the union is they're going to have a spokesperson representing the employees. And the best way to go about it is to have open lines of communication with you, not someone else, with you, where you have regular meetings where you sit down and you discuss issues, and then those issues can be resolved prior to there being a grievance. Whatever the grievance process is spelled out in the union contract. Who they go to first, who they go to second, who they go to third, whether they have binding arbitration or not. So all of those things are spelled out. So my only point is, hey, look, if you have open lines of communications with the leaders who represent the employees, a lot of these issues will be resolved. And there need not be a big formal hierarchy or some like some different way of operating. Employees feel some kind of way, that's why they union. And no disrespect or no blame on you. This is just the way it is, and this is why they are where they are. And so enough of that. I already set my 2 cents on that. And then the other thing is, for me, one of the things that I see lacking on a lot of our libraries that I would love for us to look at is electronic signs outside of the building, so people driving down the street can know the wonderful things that's going on inside the building. And I know that's something I've been advocating for, and I'm hopeful that when you remodel the Catonsville Library, for example, that would include a new marquee outside.
Yep, it's something that we've met with a vendor. We've gotten some quotes. We're looking at it specifically for Randallstown and White Marsh, and we're also looking at it for future renovation projects. So it's something that we are definitely working towards.
Great. Yes, Ms. Rogers.
This is on a total nother topic, but I totally agree with you. I had a wonderful working relationship with our union representatives when I was a director of Baltimore City DSS. We met on a regular basis, and you're right, it can be a very collaborative experience. And I shared with Director Alcantara Antoine that I'm happy to talk with her as she goes into that new role, because I found it a very positive experience. We had monthly meetings with our union representatives, and for Baltimore City DSS, we have 5 unions. And to this day, when I run into members of the union, we have great rapport even to this day. But what I wanted to say is I want to thank Director Alcantara Antoine for inviting me to visit several 21st century libraries back last month. And I would say to you, this was down in Virginia, in Henrico County, right above Richmond. You can't even begin to imagine the possibilities until you see it. I was so overwhelmed by the innovation, the beauty, the use of natural surroundings, and all of the libraries had their own personality or influence, the cultural influences in pieces of it. You talk about outdoor signage. In some of the libraries, they had indoor kiosks that talked about historical leaders in communities. It was something I couldn't even articulate without seeing it. I wouldn't even be able to articulate what is possible in the library. So we're so hopeful that some of the things that we've experienced elsewhere can be built into the planning and visioning for libraries here in Baltimore County, because it was just a sight just a sight of wonder, just left you with your mouth open like, wow, this is a library. And I do have, we took lots of pictures, happy to share with you, Chairman Jones and council members. It was just absolutely fabulous. So Madam Director, thank you for even exposing me to the possibility of what a 21st library could look like.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I think we all, at least I hope I'm speaking for everyone, can appreciate the importance of the library and what it brings to all of our communities throughout Baltimore County and the services they provide to all the citizens. And I'm just, very appreciative and of all the work that goes into it. And I guess know how important it is that our employees feel good about their working space and their working environment. And I was just providing a little friendly suggestions from my point of view on how I sort of see it. And any additional questions or comments?
If I can just interject, just kind of, I don't want to like keep, belaboring this point, but the staff do have access to me, and they will continue to have access to me even once we have a contract in place. The Employee and Labor Relations Officer is not taking my place as the library director or the role that I would have in interacting with the union. Their job is just to make sure that we are enforcing the contract as it's written, helping us with training, helping us with grievances that might pop up, and just helping us have a smooth transition into this new environment that we're going to be in. But I just want to emphasize that point, that communication is very important to me as a leader, and we're going to make sure that we keep going in the right direction and have a positive and collaborative relationship with the union and with the staff.
Okay, fantastic. Glad to hear that, and I'm sure it will be so. Any additional questions or comments? Again, we thank you so much, Ms. Sheikh. We certainly appreciate you joining us today. And that's it for me. There's no other questions or comments, so we'll move on. Move right along to Public Works. Public Works. Let's see what's going on in the world of Public Works. Find my let's see here. I guess we're going to start with Ms. Lisa Kisper. Is that right, Lauren?
Good afternoon, everyone. The
Good
proposed
afternoon.
FY23 budget for the Department of Public Works and Transportation totals $145.6 million, excluding $345.9 million in Metropolitan District funds, which the Council does not appropriate. As you can see on page 1 of the analysis, the general fund portion of the budget totals $129.1 million and increases by $8.4 million, or 6.9%. Primarily due to personnel expenses such as COLAs, salary review, service contracts, color increases, loop bus operations, waste disposal, bulk material collection and contractual price increases, professional services, temporary workers, offset by a decrease in office and administrative supplies. The special fund portion of the budget totals $16.5 million and increases by $14.8 million, primarily due to the establishment of a $15 million restricted program to manage funds related to the county's Harford County Transfer and Disposal Agreement. Prior year revenues were received by the general fund. On page 2, the pie charts show how the proposed funding will be allocated across programs and expenditures. The Bureau of Solid Waste Management represents the largest program allocation, while contracts and services and personnel costs represent the largest expenditures. On page 3, the exhibit identifies the significant increases and decreases from FY22 to FY23 to the general and special funds. On page 4, the analysis notes the areas within the budget that support new initiatives or flexibility in terms of the hiring process where potential reductions could be identified if the council wanted to explore such options. Other topics for discussion, which begin on page 4, include personnel, transportation, the Green Infrastructure Division, waste disposal and refuse collection, recycling, the capital budget and equipment financing packages, and the Metropolitan District Fund. At this time, I would like to turn it over for discussion.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments? None? And now, I guess we will hear from our wonderful DeAndrea Walker.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about the Department of Public Works and Transportation and about the budget for the department, which is expanding its horizons and its goals. This is a big week for us, not only because of the new budget, but because we're also celebrating National Public Works Week. We'll be joining other jurisdictions on Saturday, May 21st at the Public Works Museum for a regional celebration to remind everybody about the importance and the place of public works in their lives. If you get an opportunity, we ask that you please join us. National Public Week is, for us, a time when we get to recognize the people who make it all work and who, I should add, have an exceptional safety record, doing jobs that are often dangerous and always vital. As you know, DPW&T is one of the largest departments here in Baltimore County, now with more than 1,000 employees. We have a great staff that works really hard to bring quality service to our residents here in Baltimore County. As a department, our functions include, but are not limited to, a whole list of things, including water, sewer, repaving roads, filling potholes, snow removal, bridges, transportation services, solid waste management, landfill operation, engineering, flood analysis, and now we're adding green infrastructure projects. To accomplish our mission, we need to hire the right people for the right jobs, to meet the challenges with innovation, and to maintain and repair the existing infrastructure plan for future infrastructure. I think we're on the right course. As we come out of the COVID challenge, despite the uphill march, there have been notable achievements in this past year. As mentioned earlier, the Loop was launched on October 12th, and ridership is growing stronger each month. In April, we surpassed the 18,000 ridership mark. We have also done our transit development plan that was completed this past fiscal year. It's a roadmap for progress where we're connecting communities with conventional means, but also bringing in micro-transit initiatives. This is a 5-year plan that solicited feedback from a broad range of stakeholders. We also implemented the use of our paper bags for yard waste. This began in the fall, and we're now at the point where we distributed 315,000 brown paper bags to promote the change in yard waste disposal habits. We now have agreements with our waste haulers. These agreements document several processes, and they set the performance standards and provide equity amongst our haulers. You all know we started bulk trash for all residents in January after more than 30 years when service was discontinued in the early 1990s. The Bureau of Utilities started a risk-based operation and a maintenance plan for sewers. The inspection cycles and maintenance on pipes are determined using historical and acoustic technology. In other words, we're learning how to better manage high-risk pipes. We're faster and we're better at doing that now. We've also started on a new water line running through Falls Road, north of the city line to the Beltway. And we're finishing a major line on Bel Air Road, more than a mile of new pipe, which was begun 2 years ago. A release sewer in Parkville is also being completed at a cost of $16 million, and it's more than 2 miles of new pipe and includes 3 tunnels. In December, we completed a major stormwater project in Stoneleigh here in Towson. This project specifically reduces flood risk in the area. This year, we can say that we've now completed and rebuilt 86% of our sewage pumping stations in compliance with the county's consent decree. And that's with the goal of eliminating overflows altogether. We're meeting the climate change with the dynamic plan. It's a storm drain analysis looking at 6 drainage areas specifically here in the county containing 1,200 individual assets. This pilot program is to establish the methodology that can be replicated in similar areas across the county. We also have a major project at the Eastern Sanitary Landfill where we're upgrading the landfill gas and designing a new liner while continuing to keep the landfill fully operational. Most recently, you heard we started the Litter Blitz campaign this past April, which was a huge success where we collected more than 5 tons of trash that was picked up by volunteers here in Baltimore County. We're moving forward into the next fiscal year to meet the challenges and anticipated future needs. More traffic safety measures, more community connectivity, more focus on maintaining our infrastructure. DPW&T processes 1 million tons of municipal solid waste annually. During COVID, we saw an increase of that solid waste collection. So we're now looking at ways to provide more education around zero waste initiatives. Some of those initiatives include food waste collection, bike collections, paint collections, just to name a few. We will always provide the basics, of course, such as dependable, scheduled pickups, recycling, and special collections like Christmas trees and leaf pickups. But we must rethink solid waste standard operating procedure by educating residents on what to dispose of, increasing our recycling efforts, and composting. The issues are complex and pressing, but fortunately, we have been assisted by the Solid Waste Work Group recommendations, which helped us on the road to the bulk trash program. Now, after just 3 months of operation, we have a rising participation rate, and we have collected 196 tons last month alone. In addition, we will be doing a waste audit. This is a method of determining the composition of municipal solid waste handled by Baltimore County. Waste audits are used to profile the percentages and types of waste, organics and recyclables, that are most prominent in the county's waste stream so as to improve diversion and recycling methodology. Waste audits are an essential step in improving recycling and diversion rates and help the county provide more comprehensive solid waste programming. Another front burner item, of course, is accurate and consistent sewer and water billing. We have over the last year have regular project meetings with Baltimore City. Our goal is to provide responsive, more efficient feedback to our residents as it relates to their bills. We are working towards implementation of the UMAX billing system, and progress is just beginning. We are now working with the city staff to review and develop a mitigation plan for the billing and maintenance operations. And in addition, we're establishing a county-wide income-based assistance program for water and sewer projects. That's Bill 2822, which is scheduled for vote here soon on May 26th. And we're fixing our water meter issues by adding 2 positions. We have focused those employees to proactively identify our areas of needs as it relates to meter issues. Our largest capital expense in our budget, of course, is the sewer system. There are 3,178 miles of sewer line buried under our streets and along our waterways, and about 119 pumping stations to feed them. Everything flows eventually to 2 treatment plants run by Baltimore City, the Back River plant in the county, and the Patapsco treatment plant in Baltimore City. Along with water, the sewer system represents the lion's share of our capital budget. It's important to remember that many of our sewers are 60+ years old. Since 2005, under our federal consent decree, Baltimore County will ultimately invest more than $1.5 billion in our sanitary system improvement. Our original agreement with the federal government estimated a cost of $800 million 17 years ago. We will nearly double that as we work to improve the system and eliminate system overflows. To ensure that we improve the system and eliminate system overflows, we've done this by building new lines, renovating our pumping stations. As I said, we're up to 86%, relining miles of pipe and increasing the capacity by adding those new lines, such as the one that we most recently added in the East Branch Heron Run area, which was $16 million and more than 2 miles and included 3 tunnels. We are now using asset management to determine where we should perform maintenance and which assets should be repaired. As part of our new maintenance approach, we are using technology like the Sewer Line Rapid Technology Asset Tool. This program helps to identify and prioritize our sewer maintenance work. Prior to implementing our asset management, the county, like most utility owners, cleaned all sewers on a fixed frequency schedule as mandated by the county's consent decree. Now we have transitioned to a data-centric sewer operation and maintenance program. Since the program implementation, the county cleans on average 1 out of 10 pipes and has reduced the number of dry weather sanitary sewer overflows by approximately 33%. Our capital program for water covers projects like the Ashburton reservoirs. We have 320 million gallon covered reservoirs that provide water to the western half of the county. This is one of our joint projects with the city and will cost us $136 million. In addition, we're investing across the county $30 million in water main replacements and rehabilitation, which will renew and improve a number of community networks. The Fullerton community in Overly is 60% complete. Our Hillendale Park in Parkville is 50% complete. And on Liberty Road, that project is 80% complete. In these areas, we need to replace those deteriorated cast iron water mains. Many of these water lines have years of accumulation of sediment and deposits that drastically reduce the pipe's flow, limiting the water pressure and impacting fire protection. Many of these old pipes are prone to breaking, especially in the cold weather. And you know, broken water mains can heavily damage our roads. Roads are also front burner focused. Baltimore County has 3,000 miles of roads. Most of our investment will be in resurfacing, but there's one major innovation coming soon. New technology to help us better manage the maintenance and the repair for these roads. It uses inspection data and a pavement condition index rating for consistently describing pavement conditions and for predicting maintenance and repair needs for many years into the future. It is an industry standard that we are starting to implement here in the county. This allows us to be more equitable in our approach towards maintenance and resurfacing our roads. The topic of resurfacing and road maintenance leads naturally to the runoff and the flooding. More roads means more runoff. As you know, flooding has increased in the recent years, and there's a growing need to protect the land and houses from flooding. The problem is often in our older communities and developments, but before an awareness of runoff issues and before modern regulations, areas like the Stoneleigh neighborhood in Towson, just east of York Road, is a case in point. It faced serious flooding for years. And with increased rain over the past decade, the problem became even more severe. The solution was the 1 million storm drain project that began 2 years ago, but was delayed because of COVID. I am pleased to say that it was completed late last year. In addition, we've been mapping flooding using My Neighborhood. There are other ways to control flooding long-term, working with nature through green infrastructure options, in addition to our traditional stormwater infrastructure. DPW&T has partnered with the Office of Sustainability to look at 6 pilot areas of the existing stormwater infrastructure here in the county. We are fully assessing and mapping these areas out, plus reviewing all complaints and known flooding issues in those 6 storm drain areas. The goal is to move some of these to green infrastructure solutions and creating models that can be replicated through similar situations around the county. Those 6 areas that we're looking at, Turner Station, Lock Raven Village, Catonsville, Towson, Woodlawn, and the Dundalk area. We're also focusing on transportation. We're looking at adding a safety officer and a senior planner. We're looking to add more tools to our toolbox to deal with even increasing speed and the distracted driving on our roads. We're also excited about implementing county-wide Saturday service. This was one of our top requests when we went out to talk to the community about our transit development plan. And I will be remiss if I didn't mention the Towson Loop again, the county's first fixed route transit service. As we're focused on sidewalk connectivity, we have also created the Street Connectivity and Safety Program. This program has asked for $2.6 million in our new budget. It'll put a focus on cohesive projects that address all the issues related to street connectivity and safety in particular areas. Currently, these types of requests come from citizens and are handled as one-off projects. We want to look at it just a little bit different. For example, a citizen's request for just a speed hump to reduce speed, but not the inclusion of sidewalks to also get pedestrians safely through the area. Priority will be given to those projects that include them both and that provides a safety measure. With County-wide, the loop, sidewalk connectivity, and bike and pedestrian paths, we're working towards a county that provides things for residents that safely gets them from point A to point B. Looking ahead, a lot of our projects include green infrastructure, as I mentioned, traffic calming on the Honey Gold Boulevard, road resurfacing, looking at it from a new way, Rolling Road to Archer Point Road project that we're planning on doing in our FY23, our bike and pedestrian access, our 7-mile lane, Ingleside Avenue, and our Pikesville improvements. We're looking to do a lot in FY22, and we're hoping that you all will support our budget request. Thank you, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Well, Ms. DeAndrea Walker, we certainly appreciate your very, very thorough presentation. And we certainly appreciate all the work you've been doing in terms of moving us forward here in Baltimore County in a positive way and taking care of our aging infrastructure. Any questions or comments from the members?
Sure, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Walker, I don't need to ask you a lot of districts specific questions because you are extremely responsive, and I just want to thank you for the work that you do. And you know, we had a little bit of an emergency, and I was able to contact you on a Friday evening, and you were right on it and got your people on the issue at hand. And you've always been that way. You can't always say yes. I wish you would say yes to me more than you do, but I know that you can't. And but you're extremely responsive, and I think that your attitude flows to the people in your department, because we have Shop 8 and Shop 9 and highways extremely responsive to our office. And I think that they kind of reflect your can-do attitude, and I just think that you should be complimented for all the work that you do. One of the things that I would like to see from a county-wide perspective is you mentioned this new way of looking at road resurfacing, and unless I missed something, I really haven't seen anything
that would explain to us as the county council what this new way of looking at it is. And so I guess I'm just looking for information to be able to convey to our constituents when they call and say, hey, we want our road resurfaced. We in our office, we're sort of at a loss to explain what the new system is. So maybe that's something that you can provide to us offline, or give us a briefing. I don't know if we have the time for it today, or you're necessarily prepared for it today. But it's something that, you know, again, it's a request from us in my office to help us better convey what the plan is to our constituency.
Councilman, I'd be happy. I've been talking to Joel to see if we could get a briefing with council to come and actually present the new software to you all. We will start to implement the new software for the next paving season. So between now and before we actually put it into service, I do have intentions of doing a briefing to council so that you can see the criteria, you can see how we rate the roads, and how the roads fall in the rating system.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr.
And,
Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Mark.
Thank you very much. A lot of great things happening, Ms. Walker. I'll echo Councilman Crandall's comment. You have been exceptionally accessible for me. When I had a water break on Christmas Eve in the Seven Courts community, you helped me. You do a terrific job. Your staff is awesome. I hate singling out people because I don't want to miss people, but I want to thank Scott Krell, Solid Waste. We are getting a ton of questions about bulk trash pickup, and people aren't familiar with it. He has been absolutely a superstar. Tony Russell, Tom Hargis, all these folks. I, again, don't want to miss people, but they're great support staff for you, and I want to compliment each and every one of them. Thank you for your work on the Towson Loop. That could be a model for other communities, particularly as we look maybe at the future of White Marsh Mall. That might be something we can look at. The only thing I have to question you about in the budget, and you alluded to the roundabout at Honeygo and Crossroad. Is that really going to take 3 years to build?
So we have to do the design, we have to get the funding, we have to do the design, and then we have to hire a contractor. So we gave worst case scenario because we don't want to commit to saying that we could do it in a year, and we can't actually do it in a year. So I will have a better estimate once we are able to do the design and hire the contractor. It's really based on their schedule, but we did worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me it's a intersection where I don't think there's much public right of way we have to acquire, and there's no environmental constraints. And the county executive deserves a tremendous amount of credit for doing this for us. And I really would love to get this built as soon as possible. Perry Hall Manor, thanks for all your help with that, and appreciate the partnership with the state. We're going to be moving forward with the meeting for that pretty soon, right?
June 1st is scheduled. We sent out letters to the residents, and we also posted it on the website as well. So you
Good.
should be receiving an invitation for that as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Geez, what else? And so relating to the paving software, so we should know which roads are going to be paved pretty soon, correct?
Yes.
For this construction season? Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you again. Again, you're terrific to work with. I appreciate all the work, all the collaboration that your staff shows toward us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Mark. Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank
Thank you. Ms. Walker and also Ms. Rogers, I want to thank both of you in terms of all the work we've done on the solid waste work group. It's been a long road. It's been methodical. It's been step by step, but things are making their way from concept to plan to schedule to implementation. And that doesn't always happen. And so I just want to acknowledge the great work and your leadership on moving solid waste forward. There's a couple of things in government that that if they don't work, we aren't doing our jobs properly, and that is if you turn on a faucet and nothing comes out, if you take out the trash and nothing happens, if you fill up your sink and the water doesn't go anywhere. These are kind of our nuts and bolts of government, and I appreciate everything you've done to address those nuts and bolts of government. These are core functions, and it, you know, they seem easy. We grow up with them, but they're not easy, and we only find out when they're not easy is when you turn on the faucet and nothing happens. You open the drain and the water goes nowhere, or your trash goes nowhere. So job well done, especially the solid waste. Like I said, this is diametric change going on, not only in terms of how we do it, but the educational process involved in getting the public to buy in, which I think is crucially important for all of this to work. I can remember, 20 years ago when people would say, there is no way on earth that I'm going to separate cans from my mixed trash. I'm just not going to do it. And through public education and through persistence, we were successful in many cases, not all cases, in getting past that. And that was the beginning of a much more complex routine and changing behavior in terms of trash disposal. So thank you for that. Just shifting gears to a very local matter, I noticed tonight on my calendar I have a Dumbarton community meeting, and on the agenda was an update of the stormwater issues in the Dumbarton community and how we're addressing those. And so I was wondering if before the end of the day, if you could get one of your team members to just provide a couple of sentences so we can provide that to the community for this evening's meeting.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
It's over. I think it's Ridge Road is the most problematic road. I think it's Ridge over off of Park Heights and Fairway and all those right across from the golf course.
Okay, we'll get you a few bullets before.
Thank you. I think it's something that's been previously budgeted and is in the implementation phase.
I think it is.
Thank you. And thanks for the good work of you and your D, your P, your W, and your T.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thank you. And Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilman Patoka, that almost sounded like a cheerleading thing there. That was good. Good stuff.
Maybe a Village People song.
There you go. Director Walker, thank you, as always, for open lines of communication with your group and myself and our staff, and do appreciate working together. Couple things that I know Joel had sent me a note saying that the Frederick Road, Old Frederick study has been resurrected and is being looked at, and hopefully we'll have something soon on that, as far as maybe just different potential options of how to address that sliding hill issue with trees that look like they're going to fall on cars and everything else. So I look forward to getting some analysis and maybe some different options on how we can approach it. Doesn't mean we shut off that road completely. Some of these old roads, as you know, were built hundreds of years ago for horses and buggies, not cars. And so I recognize that's part of the issue there. So I do look forward to seeing that and talking to the county exec on that issue. Then, of course, I know River Road, I know we're still waiting on the federal government, I think, is kind of the holdup on that. But I do hope to see some progress between now and December 4th, just to see that move forward. It's one of the missing links for biking and walking is connecting up the Gristmill Trail with all the trails in Catonsville and Ellicott City. So I think that'd be a big win for the community. Even if it's one road for cars, that's just a one-way only. And then a concrete divider so cars don't hit walkers or bicyclists. I think that would be the safest way, but I hope to see progress on that one. I know it's something we all know about and we've talked about. And then I have just an open-ended question. I don't know if it's for you, Director Walker, for you and/or Ed Blades. You know, whenever I think about capital budgets, you know, I think about unlimited demand, literally, especially with public works and infrastructure. My goodness, could there ever be a greater need than the infrastructure needs in the county? But I guess the question is, how are you guys prioritizing kind of the really significant, I think, capital budget needs that Public Works has, and also trying to balance that off of the significant investments we're making in our schools? Because, you know, it's a dollar, you can only stretch a dollar, even if it's capital, so far. And so that'd be kind of a two-part question. The other part is, Director Walker, like, what do you think is our biggest challenge right now when it comes to capital infrastructure for Public Works that we need to plug the hole sooner than later, just from a pure kind of, curiosity perspective on, you know, where do we have to put more resources attentively sooner than later? You know, what would be your hottest out that we're addressing, and maybe some things that we also need to address kind of countywide? So I guess that's a two-part question. Thank you.
So the first part, in terms of how do we balance what we're making requests for as it relates to the capital budget, first and foremost, as mentioned, you know, my water and my sewer are my largest capital expenses. The sewer, under the consent decree, we have an obligation, we have a responsibility to have to reline and repair and rebuild some of these things because of the overflow. It's the largest part of the capital budget, right? So I'm required to do those. Those are large expenses associated with it. So it takes a priority. I must say it takes a priority because of the impact. When I look at balancing and some of the other things that I need to do, I would say some of the more concerns that we have that we probably haven't been able to address in the past as much as probably we needed to is the flooding. And that's why we're talking about green infrastructure, because it gives us the ability to look at flooding a little bit differently. And I would venture out to say that over the next few years, there'll probably be a request for more funds to deal with the flooding that's taking place in the county. You're going to hear more about the firm maps that will be finalized after the first of the year. So that is something that we have to start to look at. And green infrastructure allows us to be able to do that, which is why we included in our budget a section to really focus on green infrastructure and the flooding that we have going on here in Baltimore County. So I hope that answers your two-part question.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just chime in for 1 sec, I just wanted to point out that, you know, the county has put significant dollars towards the school system with Schools for Our Future, and now with My iPass. We have done significant capital contributions for those projects. And on the general government side, we've kind of held level. We haven't increased our funding. We've kind of put things, I would say, on hold to push our school projects. And thankfully, right now, we're in a good position where we have a large fund balance. We can do a large capital budget contribution this year, which will help us kickstart or jumpstart a lot of these Department of Public Works and Transportation capital projects that are sorely needed.
Thank you.
And
Director
Mr.
Hayes.
Chairman, if I could be allowed a second there as well. One thing is clear, we have to continue investing in our solid waste infrastructure, because it's clear that as long as there are people, there's going to be trash. And we have to really be innovative and look at our solid waste management from the long-term perspective. And we learned quite a bit from the solid waste work group. And Councilmember Patoka, I appreciate your acknowledgement, and we thank you for the significant time that you contributed to that endeavor. But we have to, this is not just a Baltimore County issue. This is really an international issue. All of the conferences and things that I attend from the CAO level, people are talking about solid waste management internationally. And so we have to think long-term and strategically about what kinds of directions we can take that are environmentally friendly. You know, what are we going to do long-term with the trash that future generations are going to produce? So I would say that we have to think long-term about solid waste. Continue to think about solid waste as well.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? I thank you, Director Blades and Ms. Rogers and Ms. DeAndrea Walker, because listen, I recognize and thank you, Councilman Quirk, for your leadership in terms of keeping us straight and narrow and always keeping the economic challenges forefront. And there's no question about it, it's a balancing act. New schools are great, but it doesn't do you much good if the toilets don't work or if the road is not there for you to get to the school. So we certainly appreciate all the efforts. And Ms. Walker, I will guess go ahead and copy, co-sign to what my colleague said. You're extremely responsive. You always get back to us all the time, and you are a director that don't know the word no. You always seek solutions, and you've been just a breath of fresh air, and we certainly appreciate all the work that you're doing. And we appreciate all the projects that are going on, and we recognize that you know, there's so much more work for us to do in terms of transportation, and we appreciate your background in that area and your leadership in that, as well as everything else that's going on in public works. So if there's no other further questions, we're going to move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Wait a minute. Let me just wait a second. Let me see. Okay, no problem. That's good. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker, and thank you, Director Blake, for coming in. Thank you. Let me see. Oh, Director Walker. Director Walker. Come back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen, I made a note early on that I'll always wait for everybody else. Every day is Public Works Day. When you get in your car and you ride on Baltimore County roads and it doesn't destroy your car, Public Works Day. When the traffic light stops so that you can not run into someone, Public Works Day. When the trash is picked up, and on and on and on. So every day is Public Works Day, and we appreciate everything you and your team is doing for us here in Baltimore County.
We thank you.
Partnership with the city.
Thanks so much.
Sure. All right. Next, we will move on. Let's see where we're going now. We're going to insurance yet?
That's the last one for today. Insurance and
Last
Ronit
one for
Rubin.
today. Last but not least, who's going to talk to us about insurance?
Ronit Rubin will give the overview for the insurance budget.
All right.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the Council. The proposed fiscal year 2023 general fund budget for the Insurance Contributions Program totals $163 million, an increase of $14.2 million or 9.5% over the fiscal year 2022 appropriation. The increase is primarily attributable to additional funding for OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits for county retirees, and liability insurance. 53% of the budget is planned for health insurance for active employees. On page 2, you will see the budget history of the program and the composition of the proposed budget. On page 4, The analysis provides the fiscal year 2023 budget highlights. And beginning on page 6 are the topics related to these budget highlights, including OPEB funding, the county's contribution for general government active employee health insurance, and general government funding for liability claims. On page 5 and 6, the analysis identifies one potential transfer of $54.4 million to the OPEB trust fund due to excess funds in the health insurance reserve fund. Such a transfer would be similar to what the council recommended and the Office of Budget and Finance agreed was wise last year. This potential transfer would keep intact the full recommended incurred but not reported reserve, as well as approximately $22.9 million of projected excess reserve as of June 30th, 2023. Without any such transfer, the county's healthcare consultant projects that the county's health insurance reserve fund will be $77.3 million overfunded by the end of fiscal year 2023. At this point, I would like to turn over the discussion. Thank you.
Well, we thank you so very, very much, and appreciate your presentation. Any questions for Ms. Rubin? No? Okay, why don't we move on to Director Blade?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Roni, just a quick comment. I think you did a great job with your review of the health insurance package as well as the retirement package last week. For the discussion as far as the transfer of available funds within the health insurance fund to the OPEB trust, we are in agreement with the recommendation. However, we must be clear that we have to wait till we get closer to the end of the year to have a definite dollar amount. We did make this transfer last year with the council recommendation, and we transferred $40 million over to the OPEB trust. And this is a responsible and prudent thing to do. So I'm sure many of you are asking, why do we have this surplus 2 years in a row that we can transfer? Why would we transfer it? Why aren't we just giving employees a reduction in their health premiums to reduce this type of surplus? So I've asked, I'm sorry, I've asked Mark Lynn of our consulting firm, Bolton Consulting, to join us today to kind of give you a high-level overview of how premiums are determined. And if you will indulge us, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Lynn to provide that overview.
Thank you, Mr. Blades, and thank you, council members and everyone else on the call. So there are 3 groups that receive healthcare benefits through the county. The active employees, they're the ones that are in the health insurance reserve fund. Then the pre-Medicare retirees and the Medicare retirees, they're in the OPEB trust fund. So when we set the rates each year, each calendar year, the rates we set for active employees and pre-Medicare retirees are the same. And that's the way it's always been. That's not unusual in the public sector. And so if the rates are set appropriately, which they generally have been, then the overall premium rates will cover the total costs. But since the pre-Medicare retirees use significantly more health care than active employees do, we always expect a surplus in the health insurance reserve fund, whereas we expect that the premium rates will not cover the costs for the pre-Medicare retirees in the OPEB trust fund. So projected surpluses in the health insurance reserve fund are not surprising at all. In fact, they're expected as long as the rates in the aggregate cover the costs. So, as consultants to the county, we're glad to see that these numbers, generally are coming in where we would expect them to be. And we also agree with the recommendation that money should be transferred from the Health Insurance Reserve Fund to the OPEB trust funds. We think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. That good, Director Blade?
That's Very good. We'll continue moving on. With your permission, when we get into the discussion items, I'd like to turn the floor over to my right hand, Mr. Kevin Reed, our Deputy Director. Kevin is crucial in working through our health insurance issues. I'd also like to recognize our Health Insurance Administrator, Becky Ellis, who is available today, Robert Burrows, who you met, who was our Chief of Treasury Management, who was on with the retirement hearing, and Matt Carpenter, our Chief of Budget Formulation and Administration. Mr. Reed, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Director Blades, and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and council members. It's always a pleasure to talk OPEB on a this Tuesday afternoon. And I believe the auditors had a few questions that I'm happy to address as we work our way through. One relates to the impacts of the Labor First changes, both on retirees and the county's OPEB liability. And just to preface, the administration is fully committed to addressing the costs of retiree benefits in two ways. It's reviewing our plan options and offerings in relations to costs, and again ramping up the OPEB contributions, again with our goal to be have OPEB PAYGO funded at 100% in FY26, and then to be 50% funded in FY 2050. And you can see that's evident in, as the auditors write up, notes that the FY21 supplemental appropriation of 25 million and the additional 40 million that we did transfer from the self-insurance fund, as recommended by council last year. In FY23, we plan to have, as you can see, the budget includes an $87 million contribution for all units. Again, we are still sticking with that plan and still trying to get up to the PAYGO amount. The Labor First changes for retirees has resulted in more choice for our retirees and enhanced customer service. And the results on the transition for county government have been very successful. BCPS has fully folded into our plan effective January 1 of this year. So with the plans fully implemented, the current funding status of our OPEB trust is estimated to increase to 12.1%, up from an estimated 7.3% had we not all fully moved to the fully insured plans. And as reported by Bolton, in total, the FY23 estimated benefit payment for all units will be 120 million. And had we not moved to Labor First of the full engagement, that projected benefit payment would have been 131 million. So we've had about a 9% reduction there in our expected benefit payments. This results in tens of millions of dollars in savings over years. And on another positive note for the future that the auditors also reference is that what's important is the contribution to the plan stabilizes from FY27 to FY28. Although we're doing a hard ramp up to get to FY26 and looking at, again, year after year, a $17 million contribution. After we get to fully funding PAYGO, we're looking at a more manageable, but not yet cheap, a $5 million increase per year when we meet PAYGO. And then as the auditor's notes also stress that when we hit FY 2050, assuming we want to continue that pace of funding, that our contributions drastically fall off to remain at that level amount funded. So I'm happy to answer any questions if we have any about OPEB and Labor First.
Okay. Are any questions or comments from the member? Okay.
All right. The second thing, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, it looks like there was a question on projected impacts of the proposed Plan B drop for police and fire on the OPEB liability that I believe is before the council. The bottom line is, long story short, there will not be a large impacted due to that. Public safety, including correctional officers and sworn sheriffs hired on or after July 1, 2007, receives the maximum subsidy at 25 years of service. So an additional required years of service would not have any impact on OPEB. In fact, it actually would potentially create a nominal savings amount to the plans as they are still remaining in our active plan. There was a question about how our OPEB plans compare to funding plans of other local jurisdictions. And as we discussed, kind of similar to our pension discussion last week, how an OPEB system is funded really depends on the methodology and the projection used as far as what discount rate or smoothing is used. As you know, in Baltimore County, we do use conservative methodologies. What I was able to pull in a little amount of time is, information we had on some other plans as Harford County closed this plan to new hires, except for sheriffs on 7/1 of 2010. Then they closed the plan to civilian employees of the Sheriff's Department in 2019. Employees now get a defined contribution to the OPEB plan, so it's probably a flat dollar amount that adjusts with inflation. Charles County closed this OPEB plan to all employees hired after 2016, and the same thing, employees got a defined contribution plan. City of Chesapeake, Virginia eliminated all post-65 coverage on 2016 for those as well as them receiving a benefit. And also Cecil County Schools gives a fixed dollar subsidy to purchase for pre-65 benefits only on the exchange. So, it's OPEB it's a costly endeavor, but again, we do have a plan, and we've stuck with the plan for these last few years, and we plan to do so going forward.
All right. Thank you very much.
So the auditor, the next section, I believe the auditors had a question on what the administration is seeking plan-wise and customer service-wise from procurement of new health, dental, and vision insurance carrier offerings. And I'm happy to discuss generally what's going on. As you're aware, the current administrators for active and pre-Medicare retirees for our self-insurance and our fully insured HMO plan expired this December 31 of 22. We've been preparing for this for over a year now. An RFP evaluation committee was formed with a diverse group of members that included our partners at BCPS and CCBC, as well as members of our own labor groups. And the goal really was to find the partner or partners to administer our self-insurance plan and who would be the best in doing so. And just a point of clarification, we are not looking to bid out our health plans or change the structure of our offerings, but we are looking for a vendor or vendors to administer the benefits that we currently have in place for our members that offer the best service to them and also the best price to the county. The committee spent a lot of time working up front on things like looking at what is important to our employee group, what are the gaps in service that they may feel now, or what are the particular areas of importance, and what works well with our current vendors and what doesn't, and what would we like to see out of a future vendor. And we conducted a survey in August of last year of our county workforce. Hopefully you or some of your staff and others took that. And the most important things that came out of that were, wellness initiatives were in the forefront of people's minds, such as fitness center discounts and other wellness apps on demand. Obviously, customer service was paramount, and for us in benefits administration was having strong administrative support and accuracy of payment and expediency. So we are still going through the process. So I can't get into a lot of detail right now, but of course we will be presenting all of these contracts to council later this summer or in the early fall for your review and approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the member? Okay, well, let me just thank you, Director Blades, for you and your team's leadership on our finances. Listen, I've once heard it said that General Motors was a healthcare company that also built cars. Just to talk about how much money is consumed in terms of healthcare for the employees and the benefits of those employees. And I realize that it is a very serious challenge to fund these issues. And I know it's not easy. And I guess want to thank you and your team for, keeping us solvent and working with the unions for the employees to come up with the best choices that we can live with, at the same time being extremely responsive and respectful of the tax dollars that we are trusted to invest and manage and provide service to the citizens. I thank you very much. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's, we're all beneficiaries of this system. We have to make sure that it meets all of our needs. As we make decisions as leaders, we're also receiving these health benefits. So if someone in our family or ourselves really need services, we want to make sure that we are covered. And I want to just point out again, Becky Ellis, Health Insurance Administrator. I hope that you've never had to call her on a personal issue, but she is a rock star in dealing with our insurance carriers when when an employee has a problem and needs help getting service for their children, their spouse, or themselves. She's done a great job in helping get those services delivered. But thank
Well,
you.
that's absolutely wonderful, and I'm glad you said that because I often have maybe I'm wrong, I guess have this vision in my mind that insurance companies want to pay as little as possible. And sometimes they're quick to say no as a way of cutting their costs. And when you push back, sometimes a no will turn to a yes, but they know if they say no in the beginning, only so many people are going to push back. So that's my view. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm glad to know that we have someone like Becky that is here to push back on behalf of the employees and make sure we take care of them because they're our number one. Besides the citizens that we serve, they're our number one resource here. Yes, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also wanted to acknowledge the team for truly helping us to move over the last 2 years, transition to Labor First. It wasn't an easy transition. It took 2 years because we inherited the project and we had to really do some educating on both the government side as well as the school system side as to really what it was we were trying to do. But I'm really pleased that after working diligently with our Healthcare Review Committee here on the government side, and then working diligently with the school system for about 2 years to move and transition toward Labor First. Everybody is seeing the result of that work, that it really is helping us. It's a benefit to the retirees. It's a benefit to the government in terms of making that transition. I just want to acknowledge the hard work that Becky, Ed, the whole team did, and Kevin, and also Mark Lynn and Bolton, because we had to do a lot of heavy lifting to move Labor First over. And then ultimately thank you and the members of council for having faith in us when we came to present the contract for Labor First. But it is definitely resulting in the outcomes that we anticipated that it would. Just wanted to publicly acknowledge that and thank you all.
Sure. Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the members? All right, we're going to take a recess and then I guess we'll start our work session in 15, 20 minutes. But I thank you all and I look forward to seeing some of you a little later. Everyone else, take care and God bless you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. You're welcome.